just continue with the recording. So work agenda, essentially the priorities that you have to achieve. These are the important things. These are the goals, the tasks that we want you to contribute, that we want you to achieve. And then the knowledge, skill, and other performance levels required by the job, and all of those really all encompassed by the role. So what theory do we require, what application of theory, and what standards in terms of quantity and quality must you be able to maintain. And you can see the different processes there, your operational processes, those transformation things. So here, how do we move our transformation processes? How do we actually transform our inputs into our products and services? And you can see some of the other stuff there, the support processes, and you can see this kind of stuff. HR, making sure that they have the right people in the right place at the right time. Marketing, and you know what it is. It's about product and offering product, creating product offerings. It's about identifying customer needs. It's about creating customer needs. Information systems, the underpinning stuff around the sort of controlling and tracking of information, and you can put in administration and any of the other stuff into that as well. Right. And then just your organizational structure. Again, we've done this a couple of times. We've looked at Varsity College's structure with Eve as the principal at the top, and then the deputy principals, be they academic, be they administration, be they marketing, be they the finance people. And the focus in terms of these structures and systems is that we, again, have to somehow link individuals in terms of their competencies. And remember, these competencies are the things that you are now creating for your future life at work. And then it indicates to us who links to who. What is the formal pattern? Who has to interact with? Who has to report to? Who is in charge of what within the organization? Always reflected through some form of organogram. So we can see here in terms of your organizational design and structure, and these are the old ways and new ways of doing things. So again, if we work, I'm going to work from the right hand side here, always focused around those strategic measures of success. And you can see that those are the realities of whether you survive in a business or not. Quality, effectiveness, so right the first time, every time, use of few resources, high levels of profitability, and also reducing the number of resources we use in actually making the products and services happen. This is from the original 1920s theories of what makes an organizational structure. This is what government looks like still, where everything is vested in top management, where you have these homogenous groups, where you don't have different and diverse opinions and views coming through. Here we have the opposite. These are those modern, flat, flexible structures. And all of those done in order to keep the organization aligned with the external environment. And out of that, you then determine your structure. Modern organizations, that is what is their structure. The term chaotic, and we've spoken about this before, it is order within chaos. And the thinking around chaotic is that we need to give people enough freedom for them to be innovative, for them to use the right brain functions within their head, but also in terms of the chaotic ideas, that bit of chaos is there in order to move things forward, but not a free-for-all. It's not skunk work stuff. We still need some sort of formalized systems, but those formalized systems are more the sort of checks and balances as opposed to the controls that we have in this kind of structure. So when we look at the structure and systems, the first one, structure follows strategy. We heard that the first time in year one. You would have heard it before then. Remember, structure follows strategy. So if your strategy is innovative, your structure has to be flat and flexible. If your strategy is about sticking to rules and narrow decision making because of legislation, etc., then you would have a more formalized structure, a hierarchical structure. So we know that structure follows strategy, but the simple truth is, in the world where we are now, where we deal with a highly volatile environment, modern structures have to have those kinds of non-negotiables. It is high degrees of autonomy, with these idea of the versatilists, and we've used the term versatilist before, where we have people who are specialists in a range of areas, where we have people who can transition from operational to strategic stuff. We also spoke about wide spans of control. You don't want your managers to act like policemen, so you want few managers, and you want many employees with a lot of freedom and autonomy reporting to those few managers. And then devolution of authority means that decisions aren't taken at the highest level of the organization. Decisions are taken where they matter, at the coalface, where they matter, where people have the most information about those particular decisions. Okay. And then in terms of the division of labor, yeah, skill or expertise. So you can see in your lecturers how we've been divided around skill or expertise. So Cheryl is finance and ecos, and your other lecturers are your law lecturers, etc., etc., etc. Clear the lines of authority based around your qualifications. Sequencing or task dependency. Remember, sequencing, your traditional production line, where we move an item through a production line, and then the degree of authority. So how much authority, how much decision-making rights do we grant to people at the lower levels in the organization? Modern organizations provide significant amounts of freedom in terms of decision-making to lower level employees. And then the different forms of organizational structure. You know this, you've seen this, you saw this in first year, you wrote exams on this in first year. The functional approach, remember, where finance is different from marketing, is separate from operations, is separate from supply chain. The divisional approach, where your trucking division in Toyota is separate from the light delivery vehicle division, is separate from the motor vehicle division. The matrix approach, remember, we have horizontal and vertical reporting lines. Please see the page numbers there. There is an example of a matrix approach. So remember, I said horizontal and vertical reporting lines. Here the thinking is that as an employee, you will work on a particular project. Those projects would have representatives from different functional areas, but those employees also still have to report to their functional managers. So you have the dual reporting lines. And then the more modern approach, in terms of departmentalization, the virtual approach, where we work on the basis of outsource. We've spoken about this a couple of times, how modern organizations aren't manufacturers anymore. They are simply assemblers. The manufacturing happens on an outsourced basis, and Volkswagen simply Lego blocks together the assembly in terms of the vehicle. So here we have external agents who provide us with our inputs, sub-assemblies, and all we do is we then Lego block those together. So Volkswagen is not a manufacturer, they're an assembler. So you can see here the core business and what else is outsourced. But the focus of the core business is the assembly, is the final quality control. We've spoken about span of control. Remember, my preference, one manager with many employees reporting to that one manager. The old style where we have many managers and few employees, what happens is that those managers become policemen. They watch you like a hawk. You have no freedom, and that's the opposite of what we want in a world of flexibility. Sorry about that. And then in terms of your other stuff, delegation of authority, remember, in terms of passing over authority, is that we cause decisions to happen at a place where they matter. We move decisions to the area in the organization that essentially is where the work is done. So you don't have to pass things through a massive structure, wait for feedback, and hope that at some point you will get some answer. Here, the authority is where it matters, where the decisions are taken, where the work, in fact, is done. And then disadvantages, yeah, obviously stress, because all of a sudden you have all this authority. Senior managers might feel they're losing their reason to be there, and you're not using some of the skills of your managers. But the simple truth is, we now know that for a flexible environment, you need flexible authority, and you need authority being devolved to the lowest levels in the organization. Okay. Guys, and then we've already done this, the Newtonian paradigm. Remember, Newtonian paradigm, the conditions from the 1900s until about the 1970s, even the 1980s, we could say, where the world moved very slowly. So where decisions were taken by senior managers, tall, skinny structures, lots of rules and regulations and red tape, and limited authority for employees to do anything. In terms of the chaotic, that mix between chaos and order, where the world we're in, accelerated change, volatile environment, globalization, rapid changes, unpredictability, uncertainty in the environment, where essentially you have to constantly repurpose the organization. And in terms of the chaos, is that this is what we require, but what binds you together in the chaos is that we have that single vision. In this structure, employees do the thinking as well as the doing. Guys, and then ultimately, yeah, the measures of strategic success, and we've discussed those as per the original model. Right. Guys, I'm going to stop there so we at least have something to do